Alright, we've got our warrior. He's got his kit on. He's got his helmet and his gloves made. He's got his shield ready to go. Next thing he's going to need is a weapon. In this segment, we're going to deal with the swords and the Seaxes. First thing to start off, when you're getting your sword, there's a few things you need to look for. First of all, it should have a 2mm edge around it, all the way around. It should have a quarter radius. The weapon should be made from a high carbon tempered steel. The reason being, the high carbon gives it its strength. The temper gives it its durability. The sword I have here in my hand is a Paul Chan. You can pick it up for around $100. This one's not in the greatest of shape, as you can tell. It's loose. The leather's coming off, which actually should have been taken off when we first got it, and a leather thong wrapped around it for a proper handle. But other than that, the sword's fine. It's, it just needs a little bit of work done to it, but this sword, like I said, it is reasonably priced and will get you on the field. One gentleman went as far as to buy a higher end sword. Same thing, quality of it. Make sure that it's high carbon, it's tempered, still has a 2mm radius around it, with a quarter radius on the tip of it. He has the proper handle on it. Before you leave the house, one of the things you should do, again, is check it for the burrs. Make sure there's no burrs on it. Find a burr, it's very simple to take care of it. Take a file it down. If you find a big chunk missing out of it, file it down really good, or take a hammer, tap it down, file it, and make sure it's nice and smooth. One of the things we do after we get done is we run it on our cheek. Make sure it doesn't catch on anything. Simple reason for this, if you're not willing to rub it on your cheek, I don't want you rubbing it on my body. Just make sure everything's nice and safe on them. The Seaxes, there's all kinds of different styles. This one here, the gentleman made himself. It was still made out of the high carbon steel, tempered, has the same 2mm edge around it. The only difference is it has to have a dime radius on the end of it. As you can tell in this one, he has an antler handle on it. If you want to do this, it's fine. What you need to make sure is that it's nice and smooth, that you sand everything down, all the edges are nice and smooth on it. The rivets, it's nice and tightly riveted on there, and there's no sharp edges sticking off of it. This sax, you can tell, is pretty long. Another style, there's several different styles of it. You can have a sax like this. As you can tell, it has a leather handle on it, a little fancy brass on it, but it's still dime radius, 2mm thick. Another style is this one. As you can tell, this one's not very pretty. Flat handle with a piece of leather on it. The gentleman uses this one as a secondary weapon with a long spear. It's easy to tuck around his handle. You can do that. The rule on that is you must have your 3 fingers must be able to touch when holding the handle and the sax at the same time. If you cannot touch your fingers, you can't do it. Another thing we're covering on is the sheaths. We have a couple of examples here. This one here, you can tell the gentleman's in the process of making a very nice leather sheath with it. The only thing that he needs to finish it up is he needs a belt. Again, with a belt on, it's going to make sure it has a belt tip on it and a buckle to match for period styles. This one here, the gentleman kind of took the easy way on it. When you buy a sword, it's going to come with a plastic sheath on it more than likely. All this gentleman did was cover it in leather, made it look kind of period, put a strap on it so he can carry it onto the field. Other than that, it still looks good, but it works. Same with the Seaxes. This sheath was made for the Seax. Keeps it nice and tightly in there. You can pull it out without a lot of restraint, but yet it's not going to fall out on you. So there's a few things you need to check out. Make sure you check the conditions of your weapons before you leave the house and when you get to the field. When you get down fighting, make sure you check it. You can never check your sword or weapons too much to make sure there's no burrs or anything on it. So that's going to end it for this section. We'll go on to the next.